Would I stop working under UBI? Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heiser here, and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a bit of a talk of whether I would stop working under UBI. Now, about a day ago I released a video here where it pretty much turned into a rant about Australians apparently wanting universal basic income. 58% of the respondents to this green propaganda survey wanted UBI, and of course I picked a photo of the most bogan person I could imagine, a very unflattering one, and Photoshop some money on him. I'm getting quite happy with my Photoshop skills. So then of course I got some comments and responses, and here's one from George, and he started off with an understandably smart ass comment where, okay, I bug it up. I said 4.8 million Victorians were working for the government where it's only 480,000. But to be completely fair, who would not expect the entire population or double the entire population of Victoria to be working for the government right now? I mean, come on. Really? That is a fair assumption. Educated guess. So he's asking here, just curious, but let's say the majority of Australians vote for a UBI, which I honestly don't think is that far-fetched. I can see that happening. I can see it becoming an election issue. The Greens will bring it up, and then Labor will gravitate towards it because they're worried about losing the Greens' preferential votes, which is what they need. And they did give it to everyone. That means you'd get it too. It means everyone would, yes. Would you sit around and do nothing? You even said, about 7 minutes in the video, what sort of life would that be? So would you sit around, or would you just keep working? And I replied, I'm not foolish enough to vote for this, so I'm not a good yardstick to measure against it. It's the people who expect something for nothing that you should be asking. And George replied, no, mate, I'm not saying you should vote for it. Let's say all the fools get their way, and sadly I think he's probably on the money there, and a party, say the Greens, came out and offered it, and all the fools in Australia voted for it, and it becomes law. Then you would be stuck with this income you don't want. Would you give it back? If not, then it's going in your bank account. Would you keep working? Now, I thought this is worth an actual answer because it's quite a nuanced answer because in a way, no, I would not keep working. I would not keep working. This is coming from someone who's had his own business for years and has diversified, but there's a reason to it. And I'm putting a big asterisk here. Now, while I'm saying I would not keep working, I wouldn't instantly stop and just live off the glorious UBI money, get I couldn't even pull off that haircut. What am I saying? I'm just jealous, and live on my Bundy, although probably would be quite relaxing, just sitting there in the hammock with Bundy rum. But in a way, I would, because what I've done over the last few years, and we'll jump over here to my website. So this is my company's website, and we've done a range of projects for years. We've been going on for probably about 10 years now. I need to check my LinkedIn. Hang on. I'll check my LinkedIn to see how long I've been in business. Is that good? Is that good or bad? Am I just getting old? I think I'm getting old, guys. What does LinkedIn say? Yeah, oh, there we go. LinkedIn says 10 years now. 10 years at Heiser Architecture. Okay. Now, so we've been going in business for 10 years, and over that time, we've worked on a variety of projects. We had a recent one at 133 Mary. We're looking at stuff in the city. We did a lot of retail work, a lot of stuff for Lorna Jane. End of trip facility fit outs. They're important because people need to upgrade their commercial properties. Restaurants, a lot of mining and modular work, little gym fit outs, some developer stuff. Even back in the day, some heritage refurbishment work, some ecclesiastical altar work, and really, this isn't St. Mary's there, like the tile floors and certain things, some competition entries, and even some indigenous targeted design for remote areas, and master planning, and boy, I've lost weight. Even Rachel has too. We both have since. So I got to update these photos. So we've worked for a lot of different businesses. Now, notice one thing I've added here. I need to update this because I'm busy at the moment. But I've kind of changed the way I've been doing business over the last 10 years. And I think the first stuff we got was some work cover fit outs, some commercial type of business. And we grew a business. And when we started, we were working in a little Queenslander that we were renting We just graduated from uni. I left the Architectural Practice Academy, got registered, and boom, we started a business. Rachel was still working. And we grew, and eventually we hired our first staff member, and then we hired another staff member, and then we hired another one, till the point we had 4 people working from this rental house, and Rachel and I living in there, and Rachel's sister living with us, and a roommate living with us to get our rent down. We got our rent down to like $80 or $50 a week each, something ludicrously stupid when we were starting this business, because we had so many people living and working in this house. The real estate agent, they kind of turned a blind eye to it. We were running an office there from their house. Now, we started that. We were working on lots of things. We were really busy. This was right during the mining boom, and we got a lot of, that's when we did a lot of these mining jobs, each one $15 to $20 million, depending on the scale of it, and it kept us flat out, and it just led to more and more work. It's back in 2011 and 2012, so we really hit the ground running. And then we went and got an office, and we started doing, we still had some of the mining work, but that was slowing down. We had some of the gymnasium work. My biggest concern is at one point, 90% of our revenue was coming from one sector and one client. That was really scary to me, so we had to do whatever we could to get into other sectors. And I found it quite challenging, because we'd get into like the retail stuff, the Lorna Jane stuff. We did 60 of those stores all around the country. And the challenge with that is they're very tight fees. Our office was literally next door to a drafting house that did this type of stuff for retail. And you'd be lucky if you could charge $3,000 in fees for one of these things, for the design, the documentation. That's it, $3,000. And they wanted you to cut corners so much everywhere. And there was about 30 hours into one of these things. So we'd have a staff member because we wanted to, my goal was to grow a business, to have staff and was to hit 7-figure turnover, which isn't too bad for a small design practice. We never got there. We almost did. We never quite reached it. And so, we had staff working for us. So Rachel would supervise several of the projects. And, we were doing those, and I couldn't make any money on them. We couldn't make any money on them, guys. But we had to keep doing them. Just because we had such a big team, we had to keep the work coming in. We had to, work on mining projects. This was a great one. This is the one I'm showing off, the Daunia and Caval Ridge, a beautiful one. But there were also little tiny jobs, like a little toilet block on a mine. That ain't that exciting. But I had to go out, tender, meet, promise everything to get that job, just to keep the work rolling in, because I had 5 people at the time that I needed to keep busy. And that was before I could even get paid. And then all these expenses and things. So I was out there just, getting out there to generate work. And architecture, it's a very competitive field, and it's very flooded. There's a lot of us. I really get the feeling like our fees haven't really increased since the GFC. And I remember coming and winning a little toilet block job, and this staff member going, "Oh, I don't want to do that." And I could really nearly slap him in the face. He didn't last much longer, then he left. Or did I fire him? I don't remember anymore. But still, that was just, considering how hard I had to work to get the job, because that was when all the mining stuff was slowing down. And we'd also had the multi-res was quiet at that time. So it's a competitive field. Everyone's trying to get into it. Now, we've... So there you go. We've worked on a lot of things. And we had a lot of the challenges. So going back to UBI, so what's happened over the years? Over the last few years, I've scaled back the business now. It's now just Rachel and myself, and occasionally I will contract to people. So what I've looked at is diversifying our income streams, because we'd be working on these type of shops which look beautiful, and Rachel loved doing it. Rachel did a really good job managing the relationship there with the client. They were a high maintenance client, and we looked at other sectors. And one that we looked at was, point clouds. Point clouds, where we've invested in the technology to scan these projects, and the idea was that we could do them for other architects. Now that's evolved into renting out the equipment. You can see the scanner behind me over my shoulder there when I've rented it out or when I'm doing a job. This is a plant room that we did for a project that we're working on. It was funny, I had one engineer, he was recommended from viewers of the channel here in Brisbane about point clouds, and he recognized that project. He said, "Oh, I know that plant room. That's from such and such." And I go, yeah, but you're not normal, mate. You're an engineer. A normal person won't understand that that's a specific plant room. And he laughed at that one, which is true. You get pretty nerdy over your things. So we invested in this. And the reason was I wanted to have a diversity. I wanted to diversify my income streams. In architecture, we wanted to diversify our sources of income. I was scared so much of it was coming from mining. So I chased commercial, I chased retail, I chased restaurants. The only thing even a little bit of developer work, although I got a sour taste in my mouth working for developers. I didn't find it quite that enjoyable, honestly. So we chased everything that we could just to get a diversification of our work that we were doing. But then I was also looking at finding ways to diversify where we could get work in or how we could provide work. And the first step for that was the point clouds. Because one of the advantages of that was it's a physical piece of equipment that you have to carry around here that you can't offshore. Because that was another issue that I was facing. We were hiring Australians that were working here in our office that would provide or would pay the award or even above the award. We usually gave rewards to those people that worked hard. You become quite hardened after a while working as a business owner, and you reward those who actually deserve it. A lot of people don't. And the people who don't appreciate that probably have never been in that situation where they've had to employ people. It's a different world when it's your mortgage that you need to take the money out of to pay people when they've done a crap job, or when you have to pay them off to get rid of them. We got really good at learning how to filter people, but it's always a challenge when it's the first job and the first professional job. So this is one sector we expanded into. We were looking at this, and now it's kind of evolved to where the majority of the time people rent out the equipment from us, so they can book it for 1 day up to 7 days, and I'll drop it off and collect it, or they'll pick it up here. Most of the time I'll drop it off. And, I don't mind doing that. Half an hour driving somewhere in the city in the morning, 5 a.m., coming back. That's why I have get my 7-Eleven coffee and listen to a podcast. Boom, do that, come back, rent the equipment, check it, make sure it's all okay. Equipment's insured. We have another income stream here. I've diversified. And then, there was even other things I tried, and probably more that I failed at, but was the getting into game dev. Heiser Games. I launched one app, which is the APE, the Architectural Practice Exam True or False Quiz. So it's 100 unique questions and let's see if I'll play this. I'll turn off the sound. Where you answer a series of questions just to help people prepare for their registration exam. Rachel and I, we actually tutored in the postgraduate course that the Institute of Architects ran to help people prepare for their registration exam. When you become an architect, you need to do an interview and an exam. And it's quite a difficult exam, or at least it was. So I made this little app to help people prepare. And there you go. That was my foray into game dev. I never got it on the App Store or those type of things. Maybe I should look into it again. But they're changing the exam up a little bit. So, I looked at that and other ways just to get multiple income streams, just to diversify what we have. So check that out if you know anyone. It's still for sale, $10. It's a fair bit of work there and a whole series of questions. And the idea was it would just go boom, boom, boom to get people to prepare. So, here we are looking at ways to diversify in projects, in technology, in software. And what we ended up doing is I scaled back the business significantly. So we're in a situation now, which is similar to UBI. And I'm just trying to find some photos to show me. Bear with me in a second. I need to look at the project number. Hang on, 796. There we go. I'll bring this up in a moment. Now, we're diversified under projects. We're diversified under sectors, upstream, and even other little things like, okay, I'm selling games. I may not be making that much, but a little bit here and there, it all adds up. You've got to be a penny pincher, guys. So we scaled back the business. In the last few years. I got rid of the office. I found it didn't make that much difference. With the sectors we were working with, a lot of builders directly, a lot of commercial clients where we'd go and meet at their premises. Sure, they could come to us if we needed, but it was just as easy to not have it. And that was a 20 to 40 grand a year cost, depending on where I was. And there was also power that I didn't need. So I scaled that back, and I thought, okay, we've got all these staff, so we can handle these big projects. Sure, the mines, they were okay, and we train them up, we churn them out, but the retail stuff. We'd have people there doing that, but there was no cost in it. You're talking like a tiny portion of, probably 100 times less. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees on a mine like this, which is a decent sized job to keep your team going, and you can just get efficiencies and really do well. Well, you're talking a couple grand in fees for something like this. You can barely keep someone employed to do it in this country. And you want to. One thing we wanted to focus on was a level of documentation quality. It was probably not worth it, to be honest, because no one appreciated it. You should have just phoned it home. But there's no money in these things. It's crazy. People have to be offshoring it or getting people doing unpaid overtime. That's the only way I can imagine you can make any profit on that. Or they're just doing it to lock up the sector because it leads to other work, maybe the bigger work. That could be why. And that's what happens in this game. I remember the first day I ever worked for an architectural practice, and I'm just going to keep looking for this photo. The first day I ever worked for an architectural practice was when they, what was it? First day, I was been walking around, and they were showing us, showing me all the stuff going on in the office, and they were talking about, this is the business dev drive. This is where we do all the free work. And this is all the free work that they had to do to win jobs. And I thought that was just nuts, guys. So it's just crazy. I'm just trying to find some photos to show you. I should have been organized beforehand, but I'm not. So, here's the story. Going back to this question. Would I keep working if I got UBI? In a way, no. No, I wouldn't. Because I have got a version of UBI. Oh, well, not really. I've gotten more FU money. Essentially, I've through my hard work, my bloody hard work, sweat, tears, and investment and time, I've managed to diversify my income stream for my businesses. I've cut my costs to the bone significantly. So I'm at a point now where I can be much pickier with who I work in and with. And I work on projects that I will enjoy, where I will make a profit. I'll put fees into people where I will know I will make a profit, even when other people I know will probably put in a half or a third of the fee. But then I can simply argue I'll put a certain element of quality and effort to it. And I've realized now I need to make money on a job or I'll lose interest. You don't want me to lose interest and get bored and not make a profit, do you? Your quality will decline. And a project we worked on recently, and I'll show you a photo here of this one. I'm sure. So this was a school that we did. This is a project that we started. It actually came online last Christmas. And we were given this job on Christmas Eve. I went out there for the client. This is a modular building, a volumetric modular building that they've placed on site. Because we've got all the modular experience in the mining work we did, guys. We're now well versed in that sector. We've done a lot of work in it. We've worked for most of the players, and we've worked everywhere from Brisbane Airport to remote areas all around Australia. And we were approached about this one on Christmas Eve. Now, I'm not kidding. So I went out on site, and what we had to do is, this is a little bit of a school that is expanding and is growing. 500 extra student capacity in a growing part of Brisbane. And what we did is I went out there with my technology that I had, my point cloud equipment that I've got. It means me as a little architect, I can go out there and I can scan the topography and the context. So I can say, okay, I can get this data. We still need a real survey to check everything that I'm doing, but it's enough for me to get started on a sketch design, because this had needed some really tight timeframes just with some deliverables and with student numbers. So I went out there, I scanned it up, and this is a type of project that I enjoy working on because it's beautiful. It has a lifelong impact on the students that are working there. There's some really lovely spaces in this job. And hang on, I'm just trying to find some more photos for you. I should be more organized, shouldn't I? Hang on, here we go. And there's some really wonderful spaces here. So because I had those skills and we had the technology, we could scan it all in, and we worked it over Christmas. Like Rachel and I, we just worked non-stop over the holiday period. I still managed to get videos out. I'd do the videos in the morning like I'm doing now and just work on projects at nighttime. But I was in a situation now where my costs are much lower. I don't have 5 mouths to feed. I don't need to go out there and networking just to win jobs to keep people busy. I can pick who I want to work for. And this is the builder who does a very good quality that adds value to the process. A lot of builders you'll do a design and they'll try and find ways to save money. They try and find ways to add value to it, to take it that little step extra, which I was really impressed with. Is the Fleetwood boys here. And, give them a call, guys, if you've got any modular work. I'm really impressed. So, this was the job that we worked on. And, working on with Christmas period, it's tough. You've got to do a lot because we did 3 completely different options. We did a looking at expanding the whole project. We did a whole animation that we could see. And I'm just trying to find a photo here of one of the spaces that I want to show. And here we have this space here is in here. This is the outdoor learning area. So I'm making sure you can't see any of the kids' faces, which is kind of good, which is, a play area that they can use, a teaching area, and that'll be a great value in addition to the school there. And you can see, you can imagine, architects can appreciate how a job like this can be much more rewarding than some others. Can be much more rewarding. And just the finer, the quality of the finish. Hang on. Like here we had the nice, I don't know what's happening here. With the landscaping, because it was a challenging site to work, and we had the modular, we clad it in an angle material. This actually was a cost saving this. This is a cost saving that turned into an opportunity. We clad it in this, in painted FC with a nice green, the colors of the school, but they wanted us to reduce the amount of it, to cut it in half, to do a saving. So what we do, cut it in half, probably put a line across. So we angled it up and made a little feature here, and they had to trim it here at the edge to make it look nice. And one thing they did on all of these FC panels, they painted the edge. They spray painted the edge as well black, so it gets really nice and sharp. Little attention to detail like that you see. So, back to my story. Would I stop working if I got UBI? Well, in a way, yes, I have stopped working. I've managed to diversify my income stream, reduce my costs to nothing, so I only work now on projects that I want to work. I'm not in the situation now where I need to take every single job. I can be a lot pickier. Sure, it's not quite UBI. It's frankly because of a lot of hard work, time, and significant financial investment in equipment and technology to diversify my income streams to the point where I get to that point where I can be a little bit pickier. Which is good. I wish I had learned that when I was a bit younger, starting the business, but these are just parts of life, guys. You've got to, you got to go through the journey to grow old. The gray hairs, that's part of learning. It's valuable. So, I would. If I got UBI, it probably wouldn't be enough to help me be more pickier, not at all. But I found my own UBI. I found other income streams and projects which have allowed me to do the UBI. This one here, this was an Indigenous housing project, a submission for a builder we did. We worked on so many different schemes, I had 5 people working on that for 2 weeks. They paid me hardly anything. I wanted to do it because I liked the idea of it, of building modular housing in remote areas where the locals could actually contribute and build and upskill. But I didn't make any money on it. It sounds prestigious, and they were funky little things. We even did some in situ options as an alternative, and it turned out the builder submitted the tender late. That was the problem. And I spoke to the government architect, and they weren't impressed with that. Even though we'd spent so much time, so many hours flying up there, down there, and that type of thing. I don't know if I'd bother again. Maybe I'm just too old and jaded, guys. What do you think? So, George, there's my answer, mate. In a way, a roundabout way, I would not keep working. I would be pickier over what I work on. And just think about that. If I've gotten to a point in my career and my professional position where I can afford to do that, where I essentially have FU money so I don't need to work for the people that are a pain in the ass, what do you think is going to happen for the average punter that hates their job with a passion, doesn't want to do it, and can't be bothered, and is now getting UBI? Do you think they'll work? Or do you think they'll cut back? Do you think they'll do the bare minimum? The people that already do the bare minimum now? 100%. I bet you they would. And what do you think? Do you think that'll make it easier to employ people? Not a chance. We're already having issues now, people finding workers in different industries. It's just going to make the sense of entitlement worse. It means everyone in the country will begin to feel like they're entitled to UBI, 500 a week, 200 a week, crazy amounts. It's not a good thing. But he's right. Shit, it may get in, guys. It may get in. So what do you reckon? Would you work under UBI if you got it? Or would you, be a little bit more picky about the clients and projects that you work on? Have you done a similar thing to me? You in business, have you realized that, maybe just growing for the sake of it isn't the smartest thing, and you could make more money and live a happier life a little bit smarter? Have you managed to diversify your business? Were you ever in the situation where I was, when you had so much revenue coming from one sector or one client that you had to really get out there? And what would your advice be to someone starting up? How would you do it? It probably could just be the scale of the work that we do. A big mind job that can keep, a team of people going for a while. It's a good thing, but also a bad thing too, if that happens. Kind of much happier the way we are now. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Thanks for the question, George. It prompted me to make this video. And as always, have a great day, everyone. If you're a fan of the channel and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Aussie Broadband. You can buy a merch from Teespring or Heiser Says, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us using PayPal. Take care, have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.